So those of you who are sticking through all this pixelated conversation that I'm giving you, Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 American supernatural slasher horror film written and directed by Wes Craven, and the first film of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Renee Blakely, Amanda Weiss, Sue Garcia, the infamous Robert Englund, and a very, very young Johnny Depp in this featured film. It is his debut, too. So, set in the fictional... Huh?
What is Johnny Depp play in it?
He's the waterfall of blood.
Yeah.
Well,
the most iconic scene.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that was him.
How did you not realize it was... Oh, he didn't have any pirate gear on. I get it.
Dog Gibby.
Thank you.
Idiot.
Thank you.
Another film I wished would take place in New Jersey, but it does not. Set in the fictional Midwestern town of Springwood, Ohio.
Because the Midwest...
several teenagers...
The Midwest is a scary place to live. You have to be tough to live here.
That's right.
Well, no, I believe Ohio is.
What?
Tim Cornfield
is
scary.
What?
It's Ohio.
So?
It's near a lake.
So? It's scary.
There's nothing to do with your barren land.
Be afraid and die. Be afraid and die. That's it.
Serial killers out there would freeze.
Yeah, they don't show that.
Anyway, the plot revolves around several teenagers who are stalked and killed in their dreams, and thus killed in reality, by Freddy Krueger. The teenagers are unaware of the cause of this strange phenomenon, but their parents hold a dark secret from long ago. Craven produced A Nightmare on Elm Street on an estimated budget of $1.8 million, and a sum of the film earned back during its first week. In instant commercial success, the film went on to gross over $25 million in the U.S. box office. A Nightmare on Elm Street was met with rave critical reviews and went on to make a very significant impact on the horror genre, spawning a franchise consisting of line of sequels, a television series, and a crossover with Friday the 13th, beyond various other works of imitation. A remake of the same was released in 2010 and was told it was horrible. So, initial thoughts on the film. Carolyn, we'll start with you on this one. Nightmare on Elm Street, what were your initial thoughts?
I think of them, that's definitely my favorite. Freddy was, I think, still is one of the scariest villains out there. I mean, something that attacks you in your sleep, where you probably feel the safest. I mean, he has nightmares, and you always wake up from them and realize, oh, I'm safe. It was just a dream. But if not, what if whatever happens in the dream realm happens in real life? And that's pretty cool. And I also want to say that in the very first movie, Freddy was not considered a pedophile. He just killed children, and then the pedophile thing happened on the remake. Not that it matters. He's still a really bad guy, but it was awesome movie. I love it. I have a Freddy Krueger doll in my room. I love him.
Dun, dun. I thought he was a pedophile the entire time.
No,
he's a pervert in the first one.
He kills kids.
He was misunderstood.
Yeah, I thought he was he
was crazy.
Molested
he was
kids
misunderstood.
No, not in the first one. He was just a killer. Which still pretty bad, but yeah.
Gibby, what was your first impression on this film, since it's by far your favorite, as you keep saying it? The other films.
I personally love Freddy Krueger. All right, love him. All I can say is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5.
Gibby Sings is on Wednesday.
I think that is like one of the best songs ever.
There's something really creepy about little girls chanting things.
I know. It is true. It's in a couple of them. But I personally love this genre. I like the first 4. I didn't like the 5th one that much. But this is another one that I thought had according to her, my backstory is wrong, but it had a pretty good backstory, because I thought it was always that he was a child killer, but he also basically molested them before he basically killed him with that hand glove knife thingy, and then the parents of basically Elm Street, who they were basically he was molesting and things like that, chased him down into an old industrial factory, threw into a furnace, and burned him to death. And that's how he got his complexion of melted skin. And the reasoning behind it was him haunting the kids, where the fact that they were the kids of the parents that basically burnt him, trying to get back at the parents. But I could be wrong.
Or I could be wrong. I just had the impression he was just a killer. I don't know. He's still awesome. I mean, great villain. Not awesome as in let's kill children. No, like that. Just cool villain.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. I like the original ones better than the older ones. I did like the reboot. We could bring back in Jason here when they had Freddy versus Jason. I thought that was really cool when they brought those two iconic characters together. I think they did it twice, didn't they? So that was actually kind of neat. Just once? Yeah.
You probably watched it twice.
I watched it multiple times. Don't worry about that. So I actually really enjoyed this one. Probably one of my favorite scary movies.
What was your first impression of Elm Street?
Talking to me?
No. TikTok.
I thought you were going to keep going. I think
we interrupt you
opinion...
on Wednesday nights.
I'm still used to it. All right. I agree with everybody about it. Just about Freddy being fantastically awesome as far as a killer goes. Because it was already said again, but I'll say it again. Being able to fall asleep, or being afraid to fall asleep because you're going to die there, is got to be one of the worst things ever. Because everybody wants to go to sleep, take a nap, nice, cozy in your bed, and then next thing you know, you're getting sliced the fuck up. It's a rude way to wake up.
Yep.
Or not wake up.
No, you'd still wake up at some point, I'm assuming. Screaming, bloodied, hanging from the ceiling, not sure what's going on.
That's right.
Well, I think. Are you Jason again, or do you want to keep going?
Well, no, I was doing some research when you jumped on over to me, so I'm reading and trying to talk at the same time. I don't think he molested any kids. He murdered 20 children, but due to technicality, he was released.
See?
And then they burnt his house to the ground and killed him.
Okay.
The parents of the murdered kids did.
I didn't think it was his house. I thought they chased him to like some industrial thing.
It doesn't say house. I just wanted to throw that in. It just said they burned him alive.
Yeah, they did. I thought they threw him in a furnace in like some industrial thing, and then they just burned him there and just left his corpse.
I thought it was his house because that's why he's on Elm Street. Because his house was on Elm Street.
Well, that's where all the kids he was praying.
I just made things up.
They all went to the same, I guess, school?
No.
Oh, my God. All right, fine. Go.
All right, you can move on now. I'm done.
Okay. So when it comes to the icons that we've talked, one common among two of them has been the fact they don't talk. I think Freddy was one of the first ones where he really taunted the hell out of his victims. And for me personally, it's why I like him the most. Gibby, we'll start with you because you're kind of a prick. When it comes to taunting his victims, do you feel that it helped his character or no?
I think that pretty much defined his character. And it like I was saying in that song, like the people actually saw those kids inside their dreams. So it wasn't even just him doing it. Like even the surrounding atmosphere and the creations in it were even taunting basically the soon-to-be victims of Freddy's cruel rage. So I actually really enjoyed that because they actually definitely played a lot more with the atmosphere inside the dreams to actually promote basically who he was. And I really, really enjoyed that.
Frank, what were your thoughts on him and his foul mouth / taunting of victims? It really did spawn a new thing, and we'll see it again in our next film we review. So what are your thoughts on the taunt?
Well, it makes him just way more creepy and badass, knowing that he's just gonna mess with you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yet, it's just one of those things. I guess it's one thing to be creepy when you're not saying anything and just following him, like in the previous ones. But then there's another side to it. Like, yeah, he's just pretty much letting you know, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. So, how about you deal with that? And you can just cry, but you can't cry yourself to sleep because you're gonna die there. I'm done.
Oh,
Carol,
man.
what were your thoughts on Freddys Mouth?
Wow. Yeah, it
Crazy.
worked for him. Jason and Michael Myers, and maybe that's why Michael Myers didn't really work for me. They're kind of like acting on, especially Jason. He's acting on instinct. He's like muscle. He's not making traps for the kid. He's not. Let's just say that he's not really not brain dead. It's horrible. He's not really smart. He's just doing his thing. Freddy, he is a very smart killer / villain, and part of his intelligence is the way that he taunts the kids. It's by vocalizing it all. So, and it just works because you have the visual part where you see in his dreams, he takes shape of different characters, and I think that's also really important. You wouldn't feel right if he was completely silent as Freddy, but if he was inside someone else's dream, the shape of someone's mom or friend, he would be talking. So it just works for him. He needs to be vocal, and he needs to talk a lot, and he has the best voice. He's awesome. He's awesome. I love it.
To give some, the next question we're going to jump in, and we jumped on it with pretty much all these we're going to touch base on, is the fact that these are franchise players, and that's why we're reviewing them tonight. The Nightmare on Elm Street went on to have 6 sequels almost every year, taking a break in 86, but 85 saw Freddy 2, or saw Elm Street 2, 87 saw 3, 88 saw 4, 85 saw, or 89 saw 5. It ran 6 sequels, did a crossover with Jason, and then a reboot in 2010, which I still think sucks, because Michael Bay had his hand in it.
It was really bad.
Frank, we'll start with you on this one, because I don't like picking on you.
Yay.
The franchise.
Purple.
To me, he's the king of franchise players. He is the LeBron of horror, or, well, Michael Jordan. I don't know anything about LeBron.
Don't
He's
use
the Michael
sports.
Jordan.
You don't know sports.
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going into dangerous territory.
References.
He's
He's the
Tom
Mario.
Brady. Mario, there you go. He's the Mario of video, whatever. What do you think about the franchise?
Yes.
All right, Gibby.
It's a great franchise, and it kept true to itself. It didn't, at least from my knowledge, it didn't go and send Freddy to Mars or something weird. That'd be crazy.
Hey.
What?
That was a jab at me.
What? No, I wouldn't.
Liar.
Not here. But it stayed very good to its original premise, I think, and then someone will probably say something that proves this opinion wrong. So I just like it. You can watch any movie and not really miss out on the last one, but at the same time know what's going on. Does that make sense? I'm just saying words.
You are saying words. I noticed that.
Yep.
It'll make sense to someone.
I hope so.
Just
Also,
not
Netflix only has Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I'm a little upset. I just wanted to say that. It's terrible. It is Halloween season, Netflix. Get your shit together.
That does seem kind of odd.
And I really did like the mashup
on the franchise.
I'm done.
My turn?
Yeah,
yes.
it's your turn.
Awesome. I mean, I agree. He's the Mario of video games. All that. He is a really cool character. Has an awesome weapon. He just looks pretty scary, and I also think it really works the fact that he's not big and muscular and just like a big monster. He's kind of scrawny looking, and he's like a rat of nightmares. He's just there, and he's sneaky, and he them if they're taking naps. I hated the remake. It was horrible. I hated that they had to do the digital makeup on the actor. That sucked. The thing that Freddy's a pedophile, I hate that too. It was just a really bad movie. So that one to me does not exist. The other ones are pretty cool, except for maybe the one, and I forget, I was trying to remember. I think it's maybe the third one where the girl's pregnant and she keeps having like nightmares when she's awake and she realizes that actually her fetus is the one sleeping and dreaming with Freddy. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of pushing it. But it's a franchise. They're going to have some downfalls. Still, I think it's the most successful one. And I kind of just pray that we don't have more remakes on that one for our sake. It's awesome.
No, I agree.
give it like a 9.7.
I also agree that Robert Englund is the defining part of this. Gibby, what was your thoughts on the franchise?
I actually really enjoyed the franchise. I thought it was getting kind of a little crazy towards the end, but it was still watchable. But I actually really enjoyed how they kind of kept the entire idea of Freddy alive the entire time, and how they basically always somehow had it linked back to basically how he died. Because basically there's like a premise of why he's doing what he's doing to everybody. And of course he started out with kids, and it just, makes sense that it's still kids that he's still going after. But now he's got a much more reason behind it. But then in the later ones, like especially like Freddy vs. Jason and stuff, like there was literally no premise behind it. It was just, let's put them together and see what happens. So, I very much enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind it if they did a good reboot of it, but what they did before was not a good reboot of it. It was kind of... I think they over-tried was the problem. And I think they just need to basically tone it back some.
I kind of want to hit a point on that. I'm glad you're bringing that up when it comes to the remake, comes to reaching a little bit too far. There's 2 points that I want to bring up about the remake. One, not you, Frank, Gibby. Gibby had a good point. We got to give him one.
No, he didn't. When does Gibby ever bring up a good point? Ever.
Good. Fair enough. The Nightmare on Elm Street that was remade in 2010, there's two key things that I think made it not so successful, and I want your opinion on this as well. The first being they went darker. Now, I know when it comes to the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street, it's already a dark concept, but they went a little bit creepier rather than a jovial little prick that's running around killing you in your dreams. The second thing I think they're missing, and you can tell me to shut up or not, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. And he brings a certain swag to character that I don't think they were able to recreate with another person, especially the guy who was in... was it a comic book movie where it was Rorschach or whatever he was. Mm-hmm. He was a creepier version. So we'll go on the panel. I imagine everybody... First off, has everybody seen the remake? Or at least know about it?
I don't know if I have or not. Give me a minute. I'll get to me last. Move on.
I haven't, and I haven't watched it on the sole fact that it wasn't Robert Englund. So, Gibby, I'll start with you. When it comes to this franchise... Robert Englund, and we usually do this for all our films, but when it comes to horror, everybody gets killed off so quickly. But Robert Englund was able that started as Freddy Krueger, ended as Freddy Krueger until this reboot. Anybody else, could they pull it off?
No.
I think it can be possible. It's just it's going to require a lot of work. And you need to find the right type of actor in order to actually do it. The one that they had do Freddy was I don't know if he probably could have done it. I just feel like the director and stuff kind of took Freddy in a slightly different path. Plus, it seemed like the reboot was more about the history, not as much about Freddy. Because in that one, they definitely dove way more into the lore behind him, and there really wasn't as much in the way of like sleeping deaths, or I would say. It was much more of basically people trying to figure out what's going on, compared to the originals where they're always fighting to stay awake, not wanting to basically fall asleep, and it was basically a struggle for them to figure out what's going on as well as staying awake. Whereas they kind of got rid of that concept a lot in the reboot, because they really weren't struggling per se to stay awake. It just seemed like they were more just traveling around trying to figure out who he was, what he did, and basically go from there to try to figure out how to stop him. So I think the director kind of screwed that movie up more so than anything else.
So it's more or less they tried an origin story. At the same time, they tried an origin story of it, but at the same time do a remake of the '84. So let's try to do two parallel paths in the same movie. And if they went with just a prequel, or they just would have went with a total reboot, it could have been a better success.
It would have been a much better success if they basically needed to define it more, just like you said, because the way they had it now is it's more of a little bit of everything, but nothing is defined really. So I found that kind of weird. But I mean, I still enjoyed it. It was just not, to me, it wasn't really as much of a Freddy movie as it was more of like an origin story, but with tidbits of Freddy in it. But that's just how that was my feelings behind it. And that's why I was kind of interested to see if they'll come out with another one. Since they already kind of went through the origin of it, to see exactly how they would go from there, basically. Because, I mean, he did set some things up pretty nice, but whether or not he follows up on it is a different story. So.
Carolyn, when it comes to the Freddy Krueger character, and Brian, I called him Brian, Robert Englund is iconic. His role is associated with him, and at least in my opinion, you can't replace a guy like that. Do you feel that that's where it went wrong when it came to the reboot?
That was it for me. But I just think the movie, it didn't work. I think that the point where maybe they were trying to do a remake, a prequel, got mixed up. The script was bad. Like, everything about the script was bad. The dialogue was horrendous. Like, at the entire time, I didn't care for those teenagers. I couldn't care less if they died or if they lived. And that's bad. Because in a movie like Freddy Krueger, you're watching for Freddy, but you're also, you want to cheer for the kids. Like, you want to survive or figure out a way to fight him. And that didn't happen. I hate it. I really, really hated how they did the digital makeup. I didn't get that. Like, you take one of the most iconic things about Freddy Krueger, which is his face, and change it. They might take his gloves away and put like in his hands. Like, it was just like ridiculous. It's just not focused. It's a really bad movie. I think that it was one of those things where they just wanted to see out of the audiences like desperately and put like another Freddy movie there just because people know who Freddy is. You don't have to worry too much about explaining things, and just like try to put something together real quick and throw it out there. And it was just bad. And to me, it's just sad because, I mean, he's an icon, and he deserves much better than that shitfest that they had out there.
Would you enjoy it a lot better, though, if they kind of basically either just didn't focus on the origin or just focused on the origin? Because I feel like they kind of mixed it together in that movie. And I
think that, it's definitely, I feel like, they didn't know where to focus. I think that's like what I'm trying to say. I agree with you on that, and I think that it's a plot fail. They kind of try to go there with the script, but it went nowhere. So it kind of felt like, it's just a movie. Let's just like have some kids and have them killed in their or whatnot, and try to figure out who is crazy. It was like too much, and at the same time, nothing. It was just a really bad commercial. They needed to like that script, change 100%, pick what they want to focus on. If you do like how Freddy came, or if it's gonna be a remake, focus on and just do a better job. Not change his face. What the hell? Or at least somebody who kind of resembles Robert Englund. Like, bad.
Okay. I could see that. I don't know. I mean, they updated his look, I will admit that. But I didn't think it was that bad of an update. I mean, I could see what you're saying, because you're seeing more of the iconic thing. But they kind of made it look more like he was, fire. Whereas the old one just almost looked like he was just wearing a mask.
I don't know. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Frank, what was your opinion on the reboot versus the original? And was Robert Englund really a huge factor in as to why it didn't do so well?
Well, Chris, you see, I don't think I saw the reboot, but I will say this much though. Just looking over some of the stuff, one, it wasn't written by Wes Craven. I think that probably would be its first downfall, because you had some other. I think his name was still Wes, but you had some other idiot Wes write things like he knows what he was talking about. So that was the first problem, I guarantee it. Secondly, it's really hard to replace. It's really hard to replace your main character, even if it is movies, especially when you've had 85 of them, or plus a TV series like 7. Anyway, so it's hard to replace him because he is so iconic. But I think he can be replaced, but it takes a little more effort than probably that other idiot West guy going, "You, what's your name? All right, you can have it." That doesn't work. But I think he could be replaced with the right creepy guy. Like maybe find a real child murderer from a penitentiary somewhere. I bet they could play creepy great.
God.
Wow.
Just an idea. Just an idea.
Wait, did you say me? I broke up.
What?
Yes.
Did you say me?
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would definitely make a good pedophile.
You're lucky I have a bad internet connection.
So yeah.
Frank, your opinion's over.
What? I'm done. Can I finish? Let me finish. Can I finish?
No,
okay,
you can't finish. I'm not your buddy, friend.
I'm not your friend, pal.
Get out of here, boy.
Oh, that's okay, pal. I'm not your buddy. Since Frank is done, we're going to go around the panel real quick at our final high spot, low spot of Nightmare on Elm Street and rank it 1 to 10. Gibby, we'll start with you.
High spot. I feel like they really did a good job at developing a character in Freddy. I really like the atmosphere when they go into the dream world or dream state or whatever you want to call it. Because basically I feel like that added such a good atmosphere to it. Like the music and the sound effects that they actually chose really heightens your basically sense of like urgency, and I think they probably are one of the best to actually use sound to their advantage in a scary movie, basically. And I really enjoyed that. Worst thing about it is I feel like it's kind of fallen away, like all the other major horror genres, that they're just trying to make another one just for the cash, and really just neglecting really what was truly at heart when the thing was made up. You know what I mean? So that would
first,
be my biggest issue. And
I
would
just
say,
to point this out.
Yes?
You've just maybe 5 times. It's driving me crazy. You keep using the word genre and you mean franchise.
Well, it is a genre. It's a horror movie.
No, genre is horror. Franchise
horror.
is Freddy.
Oh, whatever. You guys picky.
It's driving me nuts.
All right. Well, good. I like driving you nuts. A-hole.
But go on with your point. I'm sorry.
So I would say at 9.5, and that's it.
That's
all I got.
Frank, what is your low high point, and what was your rank Nightmare on Elm Street?
I get to talk again.
Make it good.
Sure, I will. High point. All of it. Just every bit of it. For real though, just the writing of it, the storyline, the acting, the way they made Freddy a likable, crazy freak of a guy is just kudos to them. Low point, judging by you guys talking, would have been that remake that I didn't waste my life watching.
There you
go. And as far as the rating, I give it 15 and a half cookies. Kind of like the thumb thing, only with
15
cookies.
15 and a half cookies. I like that rating.
It's technical.
Okay.
And I'm done.
Interesting rating system you got there, Frank.
It works.
Carolyn, low point, high point, and a scale of 1 to 10.
Low point remake, sure.
Nailed
high
it.
Point, yeah. High point character development on Freddy. I mean, I think like they were so great. Like I said, it's in your dreams. Like, how can you fight that? We all need to sleep. So how do you beat this villain? I truly think that for a whole movie to be really successful, you need a very difficult villain to beat. That person needs to be almost unbreakable, invincible, impossible for you to beat. And Freddy, pretty close to it. He is already dead, really, and he lives in your subconscious, in your dreams. He knows your fears. Like, that's terrible. That's very, very scary. So that to me is just like perfection. And I'll give it like a 9.7 just because I feel like giving it 10, there's no such thing as a movie, I think. But yeah, awesome movie.
So we have gone from murderous brothers to hockey players with machetes and a guy who stalks you in your dreams and touches children. Now we move on to a movie called Child's Play.
I don't remember talking about Gibby.
Oh, wrong.
If you're listening live, we will be going into Child's Play next. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you click the little link thing, go on to the next video that Tony set up. He spends a lot of time on these graphics that he puts on the videos, and they're awesome, because if I did it, it'd be done in Paint.